My father enlisted, as did many of his age, in the army, and lied about his age. Have his enlisting book, which shows his age as 19, but actually at the time, in September 1915, he was 16. But he was tall, and the recruiting sergeants didn't ask many questions, so he enlisted. My father was involved in the Battle of Lewes, which is not that well known about, really, although it was part of an early campaign to try and break through the German lines. My father did not talk much, as did many people really, about his time in battle. He did think that the younger people of the day, in other words, in the 1960s and 1970s, would not be so foolish as to join up in the way that he had done, some of his generation had done. But he did mention that the sight of seeing soldiers either dead or wounded caught on the barbed wire. He was wounded in the leg, and suffered a permanent nerve damage to one leg, and spent 48 hours in a shell hole before being captured and treated by the Germans. And there's a picture here of my father with a piece of rope down his trouser leg, which was useful to kind of stop his foot dropping. And the picture here with a plaster cast, keeping the foot in the right position. He came out of the war with I think 10% permanent disability, so had a pension, a small pension from the War Department for the rest of his life. And later on in the war, there was a prisoner of exchange program, so that people who were completely incapacitated were repatriated to either to their home countries, and there were some who, like my father, who could have done something for the war effort, but yet were wounded, were involved in a prisoner exchange program to Switzerland. So the British ones tended to go to the areas that had catered for British tourists before the First World War, whereas the German ones went to the German-speaking part. From then on, really, my father had a good war. I have here two labels that he wore on his lapel for his travels. So it's written here, Herbert Wells, souvenir of Germany, and destination Mürren, which was where he went and was billeted in the Palace Hotel there. The Palace Hotel was very grand, but it was, I don't know how many soldiers were there, but he took most of the opportunity involving with educational activities. He couldn't play sports, but he would go rambling, involved in collecting wild flowers. I have a picture of, must have been taken in Switzerland with snow in the background, looking put on a bit of weight, so I made him look perhaps a bit older than what he would have been at that time, which would have been about 20. His mother, Jessie, travelled to Switzerland along with others, and she's written postcards to him in Switzerland from France, and also to her daughter back in England, Frances. But that seems to us these days an incredible journey to have made it from England to Switzerland behind the front line. There's also a collection of magazines that the British interned in Mürren, and quite a few of these. It's incredible that they survived that time. After the war, I think my father must have worked in his family business, because he learned how to do carpentry and joinery, and I've still got some of the tools that he used, but went into business, newsagents and tobacconists in Lambeth. I'm 65. My father, mother, and myself went to Switzerland. We went on it was quite an interesting journey in a sense. I mean, we took a coach down to Lymm airfield in Kent, and then flew to Beauvais near Paris, and this Dakota DC-3. It was a fascinating trip, and then coach across France into Switzerland. We stayed in Lauterbrunnen in the Bernese Oberland. We did go up to Mürren to see where the Palace Hotel was. We didn't go in the Palace Hotel. My father by this time had emphysema and wasn't that active, but my mother and I took the train up to the top of the Jungfrau, which is some 15,000 feet, and a spectacular trip. Interesting, all the railways, cable cars, and then we got the coach back.